It all began 50 years ago in 1968 when a group of friends in the hotel industry decided to start a regatta which would assist in extending the winter tourist season in Antigua and Barbuda. Since then, the event, dubbed AntiguaSailing Week, has grown in leaps and bounds, evolving into what today stands as one of the best regattas in the world. For an event to reach such a milestone, significant impacts would have been made along the way, more specifically within the host community and in the socio-economic landscape of the country, which is highly dependent upon a consistent influx of tourists to its shores.
Well, AntiguaSailing Week is the largest sporting event in the country, and from an economic impact and standpoint, the most important event on our annual tourism calendar, attracting thousands from across the globe as both participants and viewers to this exciting sailing event. Between the scheduled races and associated events and activities on the island, Sailing Week contributes a significant amount of money to the local economy. To better track the contribution the event makes to the Antigua and Barbudan economy, we have commissioned in the Ministry of Tourism a CTO survey to research the spend from our yachting visitors during AntiguaSailing Week, so as to be accurate as to the possible in our assessment. In fact, preliminary estimates indicates that approximately 8.3 million Eastern Caribbean dollars is a direct benefit to the local economy, and based on our assumptions from other regional regattas, there is another 75% indirect spin-off. From a marketing standpoint, Sailing Week generates an estimated 6.1 million media impressions. That's 6.1 million media impressions that helps to raise the awareness and the profile of the destination to both the sailing and yachting demographic and general travel market. This increase in awareness, of course, results in increased visitor arrivals throughout the balance of the year.
The English Harbour community, located in the constituency of St. Paul's, is the major beneficiary of the hosting of this event in more ways than one. Scores of sailors converge on this village and its surroundings yearly, and as such, huge economic spin-offs through the creation of small businesses such as hotels, restaurants, rental services, supermarkets have been established.
For the last 50 years, this will be the 50th year, the annual Sailing Week activities have been a staple in the economy of St. Paul's community. Staple from the point of view of employment opportunities for our craftsmen or tradesmen who work in the yachting industry, for many restaurants and small businesses, souvenir vendors, taxi drivers, restaurant owners, you name it. And so it is a welcome and very much look forward to event on an annual basis.
The week-long regatta is inclusive of sailing on the high seas surrounding the twin islands of Antigua and Barbuda, and even as far as Guadeloupe. Land-based activities, parties featuring lots of local entertainment, cuisine, and of course, rum. Numerous changes have been made over the past few years, some of which have not been popular with the locals, such as the move from the first race on the Sunday, culminating at Dickinson Bay, with the popular Dickinson Bay Beach Bash. However, this year, old traditions are being explored in new ways.
You know that every year we follow the race by sea. Every Sunday, everybody gets on the boats and goes out and chases the race, and has a wonderful time as one of the first events on AntiguaSailing Week, the first Sunday. What we've done this year is we've augmented it by adding on a chase the race every day. And you can do that by land or by sea. That means that you get onto the boat, grab yourself a few rum punches, shake a leg, check out the racing, take a break for some snorkeling, and then end up with a little bit of a party in the afternoon, sunset party to be exact. Just a wonderful day.
The Dickinson Bay Beach Bash was very popular amongst the local vending community, who looked forward every year to plying their trade and making an economic livelihood at an event which was usually a buzz with scores of visitors and locals alike. In 2017, many of the vendors are hopeful for a comeback.
I would be glad to see, people lack of money, but I'm asking them please to come out that day for Dickinson Bay and see what it's like now that it's coming back. Give it another try and pray we have good weather and make it one of the best.
Antiguan culture is exuded in extremely high doses during AntiguaSailing Week, and local entertainers and bands are featured at most of the nightly after-parties, as well as the main concert, Reggae at the Park. One such local artist who has become a staple synonymous with AntiguaSailing Week entertainment throughout the years is Asot.
I'm actually now a brand ambassador for Sailing Week, so my face is seen a lot more throughout the whole week. I do the Neon Rave, which is just at the opening of Sailing Week. I do the prize giving, which is the big night, but I'm also involved with a production company, so we're there almost every night, meeting people, greeting with people, and just talking about Sailing Week. I do have a season here in Antigua where the band is extremely busy, and we do a lot of hotels and restaurants, but we don't have a big show on a big stage. So Sailing Week is definitely that for us. We get to go on a big stage and perform for sailors and tourists from all around the world.
On another significant note, the art of sailing is best taught by the experts who actually take part in the week-long regatta. And of course, the locals would have benefited significantly through learning the techniques and adopting best practices from the men and women who travel the world for such sailing events. Noteworthy locals such as Hugh Bailey and Mr. Franklin Bratwith, among others, have made their mark not only in the local regatta, but on the world stage.
I've been involved in sailing since I was about 9 years old. I've sailed, represented Antigua right throughout the region for many years on lasers and sunfish. I did represent Antigua at the Olympics in Barcelona in 1992, and now I sail on everything else. I do sail quite a bit, and I try to sail in all the regattas as long as it's in Antigua. I do sail the regional regattas. I go to Europe and sail quite often. Last Sailing Week for the last 2 years I was driving a big 70-foot boat, and previous when I'm not doing that, I'm racing with Sir Hugh and his Hugo, be whichever one he races is. Racing Sir Hugh is also always a joy of mine. I do the classic regatta where I sail in most of different sizes and different caliber, and something one of the more sought after Antigua sailors that people come looking for.
Mr. Brathwaite is one of the residents of the English Harbour community who has established a thriving business built off of the success of AntiguaSailing Week and other local regattas.
ANF is a sail-making business which is very much involved in sails to shore. We do sails, we do canvas. We also do a special service for any regattas that's here where we do overnight service, because obviously they need it for the next day. And we can't say to you, you get it when you get it. And so we have to be very reliable in making sure that they get the sails back for the next day, so the race keeps happening. Being a sailor and sailmaking is a perfect match. And also just as with boats and sails and sailmaking, there's quite a spin-off on sailing, because you do get a spin-off from the business that we do. We do offer the service that we offer, which is sometimes more than a spin-off, but sometimes not the direct impact on the sales, it's the impact on the economy of Antigua Barbuda, because if we're able to supply them with the service they need, they will definitely know that they can get everything done here, rather than I say, well, I'm not sure if we're going to get it fixed and maybe I want to turn them off from racing. They know that anything that happens, it's done overnight, so there's not a problem whether you can race the next day. I mean, we've had boats some years ago that blow the sail in the morning race, and we had it ready in time for the afternoon race. So that's kind of the service we do to make sure everybody keeps sailing.
One thing for sure, as a result of AntiguaSailing Week, the tradition of sailing will be passed on for generations. One sailor turned resident and activist for passing on the art of sailing to the young locals has stamped her legacy on the local community through the development of the AntiguaSailing Academy.
My name's Elizabeth Jordan. My first involvement with Sailing Week was as a competitor. I sailed here from England in 1999, and I did my first Sailing Week in the year 2000. And I raced for several years in Sailing Week, and eventually I became involved more deeply as Commodore of the Antigua Yacht Club, which I was for 6 years, and now as President of the Sailing Academy. I found, to my dismay, that not enough Antiguan children were sailing because of the prohibitive cost of sailing lessons and cultural barriers, fear of water in West Indians. Most of the parents don't swim, so the children don't swim, and if they don't swim, we can't put them in deep water sailing. So I approached the then government and suggested that we address this problem by offering free sailing lessons and swimming lessons to Antiguan school children, and that I would raise the funds to pay for it. So the ministry were very supportive, and we were formed as a non-profit in 2010, and the government obviously took it on board in respect of it being the National Academy and using the coat of arms and things like that, and assisting with fundraising events and that type of thing. And I raised the funds to pay for it from the yachting community, who were very supportive and still are. So we still exist partly on donations. When I left the yacht club at the end of 2013, the Academy had taken a lease on these premises for 20 years with a view to creating our own revenue, because living on donations is not financial sustainability. If I stop begging, the whole thing folds up and stops. So the mission now is to create revenue so that we can pay our way.
The students who attend the AntiguaSailing Academy are now active participants in AntiguaSailing Week.
We have our own race boat, and it will be racing with 6 young Antiguans aged between 17 and 19, all of whom are students who have graduated through the sailing program, most of whom have become competent sailors and sailing instructors. They get qualifications from the Royal Yachting Association. We run a training course every year, and it's the first step on the ladder to them becoming professional sailors or working in the yachting industry.
Because AntiguaSailing Week extends enormous benefits to all spheres of society, the government of Antigua and Barbuda has taken a vested interest in ensuring its sustainability. Major investments have been made in ensuring the provision of the necessary services and infrastructure for yachtsmen to enjoy ease of doing business.
The sailing and yachting industry is one of the most important for Antigua and Barbuda. Recognizing this, as well as the importance of ensuring that we provide extraordinary experiences and services in tourism and infrastructure, the government has been investing in improvements from operations to infrastructure to services. Some of these changes includes the Peters and May transport ships to take yachts back to Europe, which means larger and more sophisticated yachts are now participating in AntiguaSailing Week. We never had that before. Secondly, the availability of the low sulfur diesel fuel for our mega yachts means that they stay longer in Antigua and allow us to earn additional revenues from the sale of fuel from the West Indies Oil Company. Thirdly, a reverse osmosis plant has ensured that we have an adequate supply of potable water is available to the yachting industry all year round, while a CCTV security camera system has improved the safety and the security, which is of paramount importance in the national parks area. We have implemented processes that expedite the customs clearance of spare parts, and the excellent provisioning and maintenance services in the area have also enhanced our product and made the Nelson's Dockyard a key port of call for international sailors. We also have the EC Clear system, which is an online pre-notification system for immigration, and that has been a welcome innovation which allows for expedited clearance of yachts and of their crew upon their arrivals. All of these changes mean that we are providing the highest quality and standards, offering to meet the high standards and expectations that we are renowned for throughout the region. So you see, the yachting services in Antigua and Barbuda are seamless, they're safe, and they're eco-friendly. They're delivered in the unique ambience provided by the Nelson's Dockyard, which is one of the world's most enchanting and beautiful locations that has now been designated as UNESCO World Heritage Site, something which all of the people of Antigua and Barbuda should be proud of. In addition to this infrastructure, we can also proudly say that we offer hands-down some of the best maintenance and operation services for the sailing and yachting community in the entire yachting world. There is no other destination in the region that has the skills to maintain and repair yachts that can be found in Antigua and Barbuda by our very own local craftsmen. And this is as a direct result of our long and rich legacy and pedigree in sailing dating back well over to 200 years. So sailing and yachting are very intrinsic to our history and to our culture. So as a government, we want to strengthen and build on this foundation, and we will therefore continue to invest heavily in our infrastructure for servicing the sailing and yachting community.
Nelson's Dockyard is at the center of it all. Scores of visitors amble through this Georgian-era dockyard, which is a busy hub both for sailing enthusiasts and tourists. Nelson's Dockyard and its environs, inclusive of Shirley's Heights, are regulated by the National Parks Authority, which facilitates plans for AntiguaSailing Week.
The beauty about Sailing Week, unlike other regattas, because as you know, there are several other regattas which take place from here. Sailing Week is really the only regatta that interacts in a very intimate way with the local community. So you'd find that during Sailing Week, we have big subscription from vendors in the community, particularly the community of this area. We have certainly the involvement of the taxi drivers. We have hoteliers who are involved as well in Sailing Week, because at this time most of the hotel rooms in the area, available accommodation space, is taken because of the Sailing Week activity. So in that sense, and there seems to be there's also a natural connection between the community of English Harbour, Falmouth, and the Nelson's Dockyard. For them, it's a very special place, and it is something which is at the root of the community, and therefore there is that strong involvement. And also it's the only time when, I think, when you find mass movement of people from St. John's and other parts of the island to the English Harbour. I think it's a really special place, and I am hoping that people would not just use Sailing Week as the only opportunity to get out here, but to get out here as much as they possibly can.
Of course, patrons have to be mindful to take extreme care of the assets of the Nelson's Dockyard, which has recently been awarded the status of UNESCO-awarded World Heritage Site.
This year we have a number of events which will take place within the park itself. Certainly there's the rum party, which happens tomorrow. There are two of the prize givings which will take place in the dockyard as well. And then there is the Damian Marley event, which takes place on Tuesday, and that is, it looks like it will be a mammoth event for the organizers of Sailing Week. And so these events which will take place in the park bring revenue and business to the park, because were these events to take place outside of the park, then obviously we won't get the economic benefit that we anticipate. On an annual basis now we have 123,000 visitors to the park. We need to increase that number, because I believe that we can, and so there will be, we're trying to devise ways and means of doing that. Government has ensured to date that we have put in facilities, for example, the sulfur-free fuel for the vessels that has gone in. We have increased the security in the area. If you come out here at night now, you'll see additional night lighting. We have put in facilities where the yachts people can move in and out of Antigua by an online process. And so there are a number of significant developments which have been made, and as I said, there are lots more to come. There are not many places in the world which are World Heritage Sites. And so once we have that seal, and we can wear that seal proudly, I think we need to use it as a selling opportunity. We need to ensure that once an individual, a visitor comes to Antigua, they are aware that there is this World Heritage Site in English Harbour, and we need to ensure that it's a must stop on your visit.
The intention now is to grow the Antigua Sailing Week brand for another 50 years, having met the initial target of extending the winter tourist season and being one of the best regattas in the world. Both locals and visitors look forward to this annual event.
The Antigua Sailing Week was originally conceived in part as a premier event to extend the peak winter travel season. While Antigua Sailing Week has grown into an event in its own right, as one of the most elite regattas in the world, it still remains a critical event to extending the winter travel season and improving our tourism earnings as well. Given how important tourism is to the economy and employment of our nation, our vision is for the Antigua Sailing Week to continue to improve and strengthen our overall tourism product with more activities while evolving by introducing new events. For example, we are very excited to launch a new Antigua to Bermuda race this year that is attracting some of the most important vessels in the global sailing community. With this being the 50th anniversary of Sailing Week and Bermuda to be hosting the America's Cup at the end of May this year, this new event is perfectly timed as most of the sailing world is focused on our region, in particularly Antigua and Barbuda. As part of this vision of growth, we of course hope to continue growing the number of participants that we have in Sailing Week. In fact, we have seen a 50% year-over-year increase, with nearly 150 boats set to compete this year. This means that we are once again the region's largest regatta, with its must-attend social sailing activities and parties.
As Antiguans and Barbudans, we all have fond memories of Antigua Sailing Week, with hopes that it will only get better and bigger and continue to provide much-needed avenues of empowerment for future generations. We wish this marquee event another successful Golden 50 to come.
For me, as a sailor, it's an improvement to have a base. That was a big thing. The races now are superbly organised. They used to be a little bit sort of confusing sometimes, let's say, whereas now they're wonderfully organised. It runs on time, because when you go to a regatta as a competitor and they say it's a 10 o'clock start and you're still going round in circles at 11 o'clock, it can be very frustrating, but they've got that. They've got a marvellous team of people running it. Kathy and Alison do a fantastic job, and their supporters and their SWAT teams are fantastic.
I want to say congratulations to the yachtsmen who over the 50 years would have sailed into our harbours for the celebration of this great grand centrepiece of yachting here in Antigua and indeed the Caribbean. I want to extend congratulations as well to all the support staff at the national parks, the wider English Harbour community, the yacht club, every single sector of local society community that have made an impact, or taxi drivers, like I said earlier, or restaurateurs, or hoteliers, or souvenir vendors. I want to say congratulations to all who have played a pivotal role in holding this tradition together for 50 years. But on behalf of the government, first to the government, congratulations for having fashioned over 50 years and stuck to this product over 50 years. And I'm talking successive governments. And from the government, I'd say thanks to all for being a part of Sailing Week over 50 years, and here's hoping we work together to realize another 50.
Antiguans have the misconception that Sailing Week is only for tourists and white people and all that stuff, but Antigua, we have so many volunteers, local sailors. We have young, I've seen a lot of junior sailors who want to sail, who have a passion for it. So just come out and experience it for yourself. You will be extremely surprised at how much Antiguans are involved and how much we have to offer for Sailing Week.
Antigua Sailing Week originally was created to extend the season, and which is actually doing so. And as long as extending the season, it's also creating a lot more economic impact on the economy of Antigua and Barbuda, just for being that longer. Also this year with more boats, it's even a bigger impact. Also with boats sticking around longer to do the Antigua Bermuda race, has people staying around longer, which the organizers of the Sailing Week are very heavily involved in putting that race on. So there's a lot of it wrapped up in a nutshell there.
For 50 years, the nurturing of Sailing Week has not relented. In its 50th year, great are the expectations of the people of Antigua and Barbuda for the continued success of this phenomenal regatta. The government will continue to lend its fullest support through the Ministry of Tourism and the National Parks Commission. I take this opportunity to wish everyone a happy 50th Antigua and Barbuda Sailing Week. May God bless you all.
I guarantee you that it's going to be awesome.